Do you want someone you can grow old with? Do you want someone to be a mother for your children, assuming you want children? And if you don't want children, well, you probably will. And if you don't, you're either deluded or immature. And you might say, well, no, the planet has too many people on it. It's like, yeah, whatever. Good luck with that. Every single one of your ancestors reproduced in an unending procession lasting 3.5 billion years. And they're all wrong, and you're right. I don't think so.
You just listened to a soundbite of Dr. Jordan Peterson sharing his opinion about people who choose not to have kids. It's a sales pitch for the most expensive purchase you will ever make in your life. And unlike every other expensive purchase, this one comes with no return policy, no trial period, and no honest accounting of what it actually costs you. So let's do the accounting nobody wants to do on camera. Start with the big one, because it sounds the most powerful and it's actually the weakest. Yes, every single one of your ancestors reproduced, 3.5 billion years of it. That's true, and it's meaningless because it has to be true. You could not exist to hear the argument if any one of them hadn't. The chain behind you is made entirely of people who reproduced, by definition, the same way a survey conducted only among lottery winners finds that everyone won the lottery. It's not a chain of wisdom, it's a chain of survivorship, and survivorship is not proof of anything except that you're the one still standing to notice it. So when someone says, "Who are you to break a 3 billion year chain?" the honest answer is, the chain isn't an argument, it's just a fact about how you got here. The chain also includes ancestors who died screaming from infections we now cure in an afternoon. It includes people who owned other people and were certain that was natural. It includes generations who married at 13, who beat their children as a duty, who believed the sun moved around the earth. They all did it, kept every one of those alive too. Appealing to the unbroken line of the past is not reverence, it is the single most reliable way to never have to think about whether the past was worth repeating. You already reject the chain constantly. You reject their medicine, their morality, their marriages, their technology, their assumptions about what a man or woman was supposed to be. You only bow to the chain on this one thing, because on this one thing, you've been trained to believe that questioning it means something is wrong with you. Now the move that sounds gentle and is actually the most dismissive thing a person can say? You'll want children eventually, and if you don't, you're deluded or immature. Look at what that sentence does. It doesn't engage with your reasons, it converts a considered choice into a childhood illness you haven't recovered from yet. You can't lose an argument you're not allowed to have. But turn it around, because it collapses instantly. If wanting children is maturity, then it's the one form of maturity that requires no thought at all. Every animal on Earth does it, driven by hormones with zero reflection. And if not wanting them is immaturity, then it's a strange kind of immaturity that involves looking honestly at your own life, your finances, your desires, the state of the world, and making a hard decision against your own biology and against enormous social pressure. One of those took reflection, one of them took none. Which one actually sounds like the adult? Person who has kids because it's just what you do did not make a decision, they followed a current. The person who examined it and chose otherwise is the only one in the room who actually chose anything. Ask anyone selling you on marriage and kids to give you the actual number, not the feeling, the number. They can't, because they've never looked. So look with me. A child in a developed country costs conservatively $250,000 before it turns 18. Food, housing, school, clothes, healthcare, none of it optional, all of it compounding. That's before college. That's before the therapy bills, statistically likely for both of you. The real cost is time, and time is the only currency you can't refinance. 18 years minimum of your one existence restructured around a person who did not ask to be created and will not remember most of what it took to raise them. You will work years of your life you will never get back to fund a childhood the child themselves will barely recall. Nobody puts that on the brochure. And marriage is sold to you as security. Here's what it actually is, structurally. A legal and financial merger with another human being entered into on the promise of a feeling, with no guarantee the feeling survives contact with real life. Half of them end. The ones that don't end often don't end because they're good. they end in not ending because leaving is more expensive, more exhausting, or more socially costly than staying. Sometimes stability is just inertia with a ring on it. Take a man, single right now. He doesn't notice what he has because he's never been without it. His money is his time is his, he answers to no one. Then the script activates. Marriage, the wedding, the house, the children. Watch what happens to that freedom. He no longer works for himself. He works to cover the expenses, the mortgage that doesn't forgive. Every hour he will work for the rest of his life is now spoken for before he earns it. He cannot stop, not because he wants to keep going, but because a whole family now depends on him never stopping. That's the actual arrangement, said without the warm music underneath it. The day after the wedding, a woman is, in most homes, still doing the majority of the invisible labor. The cooking that gets consumed and forgotten in 20 minutes, the cleaning that undoes itself by evening, the mental load of remembering everyone's schedule while frequently still working a paid job on top of it. Then children arrive, and her body is the one that carries the pregnancy, absorbs the physical toll, does the disproportionate share of the sleepless years, and she is very often still expected to look a certain way, earn a certain amount, and not complain because complaining makes her ungrateful for the life she's lucky to have. Call it what it structurally is: an unpaid cook, an unpaid maid, an unpaid nurse, and an unpaid childcare worker contracted for decades with no salary, no severance, and enormous social punishment for trying to renegotiate the terms. Here's where government and society enter the picture, because there is a larger reason birth rates get talked about that has nothing to do with whether any individual person is fulfilled. Modern economies need younger generations to replace older ones. Pension systems need workers and taxpayers. Healthcare systems have to support aging populations. So when birth rates fall, governments have reasons to encourage people to have children. Tax benefits, child benefits, paid leave, housing programs, public campaigns. None of that is a conspiracy. Parents genuinely need support. But notice what happens culturally when a structural problem becomes a personal expectation. The government says, we need enough workers in the future to support an aging population. Society turns that into, you should have children. Your parents turn it into, when are you giving us grandchildren? Your friends turn it into, you'll understand when you have your own. And eventually you turn it into, maybe something is wrong with me. Nobody has to coordinate this. That's what makes it powerful. Families want grandchildren, economies need workers, the species wants reproduction. And all of those pressures converge on one individual and still feel like a personal desire. You don't have to believe in a conspiracy to recognize an incentive, but your life is not a government statistic. You're not a fertility rate. You're not a future taxpayer. You're not a solution to an aging population. If the system needs more workers in 30 years, that doesn't automatically mean you owe it a child today. There's a piece of this that gets skipped entirely, and it might be the most honest reason a person hesitates. You don't just inherit a house, a name, or a set of habits from your parents. You inherit their unfinished business. Think about what you actually got handed. Not just love, not just food and shelter. You got a template, a way of handling anger, because that's the only way you ever saw anger handled. A way of hearing criticism, because that's the tone criticism always came in. A default response to conflict. Go quiet, or go loud, or go fix it, or go numb, because that's what conflict looked like in the house you grew up in. Nobody sat you down and taught you these things on purpose. You absorbed them the way you absorbed a language before you had any say in it. And here's the part people don't want to hear. Having a child does not automatically interrupt that. I'll do it differently is not a plan. It's a hope, said by someone who hasn't yet been sleep deprived for 4 months straight, hasn't yet been screamed at by a toddler at 2 a.m., hasn't yet watched their own patience run out in a grocery store aisle while a stranger stares. Under enough exhaustion and enough stress, people don't rise to their intentions. They fall back to their wiring. And the wiring, for most people, was built by the exact parents they swore they'd do better than. This is not a guarantee that you'll repeat harm. Plenty of people do break cycles. It happens, and it's genuinely one of the most difficult, admirable things a human being can do. But notice what that sentence requires. Years of deliberate work, often therapy, often brutal honesty about your own family, done before you're also responsible for keeping a small person alive on 4 hours of sleep. Having kids will force me to grow up and fix myself has the order backwards. The fixing is supposed to happen first. A child is not a renovation project for the parent's own unresolved damage. But that is functionally what happens in an enormous number of families, quietly, without anyone naming it out loud. And this connects to something Peterson-style arguments never touch: the legacy pitch. Have kids so part of you continues. Continues as what, exactly? Not as you, as a fragment of you reprocessed through someone else's nervous system, including whatever parts of your own upbringing you never got around to examining. If you never were held accountable for your own temper, your child inherits your temper. If you never learned to sit with disappointment instead of controlling everything around you, your child learns that too, the same way you learned it, by living inside it, with no vocabulary yet to name what's happening to them. Legacy sounds like immortality. In practice, it's frequently just distribution. You don't get to choose which parts of yourself get passed down. Exhaustion picks for you. None of this means people with unresolved histories shouldn't have children, and it doesn't mean people who do have children are doomed to repeat their parents. It means the honest version of "I want to give my kid a better childhood than I had" isn't a wish, it's a job, one that has to start with you, alone, years before there's a second person in the house whose entire nervous system is being built in real time by watching how you handle the worst version of yourself. If you haven't done that work yet, a child doesn't wait for you to finish it. The child just becomes the place where the unfinished work goes. That's a different kind of cost than money or time. It's the cost of handing someone else the parts of yourself you never got around to fixing, and hoping, without evidence, that they'll turn out fine anyway. And notice how rarely this gets asked out loud, compared to how often "you'll want kids eventually" gets said. Nobody sits a couple down before the wedding and asks, "How did your father handle being wrong about something? How did your mother handle being tired and unsupported? What did you learn without being told about what happens to a person's temper under pressure? And have you actually tested whether you inherited that or just assumed you'd be different?" Those are harder questions than "do you want kids?" And they matter more because they're the ones that actually predict what kind of parent someone becomes under stress. The chain argument tells you to reproduce because everyone before you did. It never, once, asks what specifically you'd be reproducing.
You can love your child more than anyone on earth and still miss your old life. Those two things are not contradictory. A parent can look at their sleeping child and genuinely think, "I would die for you," and then 3 hours later stand exhausted in the kitchen thinking, "When was the last time I slept properly?" Both can be true. You can be grateful for your child and still admit that your life changed permanently the day they arrived. You can love being a parent and still miss being alone with your own thoughts. You can feel your child gave your life meaning and still admit that parenthood took away options you once had, quietly, one at a time, without asking first. But the moment you say any of that publicly, someone acts like you're insulting your child. You're not. You're admitting that choices have consequences, which is exactly what people should be allowed to understand honestly before making an irreversible one. And here's the part that quietly wrecks every argument built on "you'll regret it." Nobody can actually compare the two lives. The parent will never know exactly who they would have become without children. The person without children will never know exactly who they would have become with them. There is no alternate universe you can visit. You cannot live both lives and come back with a spreadsheet proving which one was better. So when someone tells you with total confidence, "You'll regret not having kids," they are pretending to know something nobody can possibly know. Their own life is real evidence about their life. It is not evidence about yours. There's one more piece of pressure that didn't exist in Peterson's generation the way it exists in yours, and it might be doing more work than any argument he makes out loud: the feed. Scroll for 5 minutes and you'll see it. The gender reveal, the nursery perfectly styled, lit like a catalog, the toddler in a matching outfit laughing on cue, the caption about how nothing prepares you for this kind of love. It is an enormous, constant, algorithmically boosted stream of parenthood's best 30 seconds, presented with zero context about the other 23 hours and 59 and a half minutes of that day. Nobody posts the argument in the car at 6 a.m. because the school run is late again. Nobody posts the moment they snapped at their kid over something small because they hadn't slept properly in a week. Nobody posts sitting on the bathroom floor doing the math on daycare costs against a paycheck that hasn't grown. That footage exists. It happens in every single one of those households, probably that same day. It just doesn't get filmed because nobody wants to be the parent who posted that. So what you are actually comparing your life against every time you open that app is not other people's lives, it's other people's edits. And here's the trap. Your own life doesn't come with an edit. You experience your Tuesday in full, the boredom, the low-grade dissatisfaction, the ordinary friction of being a person, while you watch everyone else's Tuesday compressed into the 15 best seconds they chose to keep. Of course their life looks fuller. You're comparing raw footage to a trailer. This cuts a particular way for the child-free life specifically because there's no equivalent genre for it. Nobody's algorithm is built to serve you a beautifully lit 15-second clip of quiet Tuesday evening, read a book, went to bed whenever I wanted, answered to no one. It's not dramatic, it doesn't have a hook, so it never gets made, which means it never gets seen, which means an entire category of life, stable, content, unremarkable in the best sense, is systematically underrepresented next to a genre engineered to look like the most meaningful thing a human being can do. You're not just up against your parents' voice in your head anymore, you're up against a content industry that has figured out parenthood converts, and childlessness doesn't have a comparable one selling it back. And it goes further than comparison, it becomes performance. Parents online report, constantly and openly, the pressure to make it look effortless and glowing even on the days it wasn't. The reveal has to be perfect, the milestone photo has to be perfect, the caption has to land somewhere between grateful and relatable.
That's not dishonesty exactly. Most people genuinely do love their kids and genuinely do have wonderful moments worth sharing. But a feed selected for its best moments, viewed by someone trying to decide whether to have kids of their own, isn't information. It's marketing, made sincerely by people who aren't trying to sell you anything and are doing it anyway just by posting their best day. So when you feel that pull, that sense that maybe you're missing something, that everyone else seems so sure, so happy, so complete, ask what you're actually reacting to. Is it a considered look at what daily life with children actually involves, hour by hour for the people living it? Or is it 30 seconds, shot in good light, on someone's best afternoon that got algorithmically pushed in front of you specifically because it was engineered to make you feel exactly what you're feeling right now? That's not a reason to dismiss parenthood. Plenty of what's in those videos is real and earned. It's a reason to stop treating a highlight reel as a data set and to notice that the fear of missing out on that is often fear of missing out on an edit, not a life. They'll call you selfish for opting out. Sit with that word for 1 second before accepting it. A child cannot consent to being created. It doesn't exist yet to weigh in. Every reason anyone is ever given for having one is a reason about the parent, wanting to be needed, wanting a legacy, wanting to not face old age without someone in the room, wanting to feel like their life mattered. None of that is about the child. The child is the one being used to solve the adult's problem. So ask honestly which decision centers someone else's well-being and which one centers your own emotional needs dressed up as generosity. Selfish was never an accurate description of the person who opts out. It's the last card played by an argument that's run out of better ones. Having children is not insurance against dying alone. It's not even good insurance. Walk into any care facility in this country and you will find it full of people who did everything right. Married, had 2, 3, 4 kids, held the family together for decades. And now they sit in a chair by a window, and the visits come twice a year if they're lucky, squeezed between someone else's work trip and someone else's kid's soccer game. Because the children they raised grew up and did exactly what they were built to do, leave and build a life that isn't about you anymore. You did the same thing to your own parents. You know you did. You don't call as much as you should either. Nobody does. That's not a moral failure. That's just what happens when a person becomes a full adult with their own gravity. You cannot manufacture a permanent audience for your old age. You can only manufacture another person who, if things go well, will love you and still eventually leave. And here's the part that should actually bother you. Having a child as insurance against your own future loneliness isn't a plan, it's a hostage situation with a 20-year delay. You're creating a person in advance and quietly assigning them the job of making sure you don't feel what you're afraid of feeling. They never agreed to that job. They were born into it. And when they inevitably fail to do it perfectly because they're a separate human being with their own life, not a life support machine for your emotional needs, you get to feel betrayed by someone who never signed the contract you wrote for them 30 years earlier. That's not love. Examine it honestly, and it's closer to conscription. And the darker truth underneath all of it, the one nobody says on camera because it doesn't sell anything, is that you die alone either way. Every single person does, married or not, have kids or not, surrounded by 12 grandchildren or by nobody at all, because dying is not a group activity. No other consciousness has ever fully entered yours, not your mother's, not your spouse's, not your own child's, and none ever will. The moment itself, the actual crossing, happens to one nervous system alone, no matter how many people are standing in the doorway. Children don't fix that. Marriage doesn't fix that. Nothing fixes that because it was never a problem that could be solved by adding more people to your life. It's the condition of being a separate person in the first place. So when they say you'll die alone like it's a threat only childless people should be afraid of, ask them what exactly their children are going to do about it. Because the honest answer is, probably show up. Maybe not, statistically less than they hope. And either way, in the room at the very end, it's still just going to be them, alone, the same as you. The difference is you didn't spend 18 years and $250,000 pretending otherwise. Here's what nobody advertises about staying single, staying child-free, opting all the way out. Your money stays yours. Your evenings stay yours. You get to fail, move, start over, change your mind entirely at 35 or 45 without dragging anyone else through the wreckage of that decision. You get to find out who you are without an audience of dependents grading the performance. You get to rest, actually rest, not the performance of rest that ends the second someone needs something. That's not emptiness. That's the one thing almost nobody in the history of the species was ever handed the option to have, a life that belongs start to finish to the person living it. So before you let a soundbite tell you that wanting out makes you deluded, ask it back one honest question. Has anyone ever actually argued you into the marriage and kids life? Or have they only ever made you afraid of what people would think if you walked away from it? Those are very different things. Most people never had the first conversation. They only ever had the second one dressed up as wisdom, delivered by people who loved them and never got asked the question either. You're allowed to ask it. Ask it freely in the comments section. This channel is kept alive by a rare community, people who don't look away from the hard questions. If you feel you belong here, become a member of the channel. It's the most direct way to keep this project alive, and it opens the door to exclusive content and conversations most people will never be ready for. To those already inside, you are the backbone of all of it. Thank you. Super thanks helps more than you know, but even just by watching, commenting, or sharing, you're already part of this. And here, that matters. One question before you go, and be honest, not polite. Did you actually want to have kids, or did you just follow the script because refusing it was made to feel like failure or something you'd regret later? This is Eternal Rift.